Christopher Hine, and we're talking about Bokken as we teach it here in Fresno. So at this school, the Bokken work we do is based heavily on Saito Sensei's Bokken work, but is also filtered through my ideas of, I've done historical European martial arts and a lot of other different kinds of martial arts, so the other ideas that I have kind of come into our weapon work. One of the key principles in understanding sword work is understanding how to make a successful attack. So it might seem as simple as an attack is just swinging and hitting someone, and a lot of schools of Aikido spend a lot of time doing saburi for just this reason, because the idea is like, if I have a perfect cut, then I'll make a good attack. The problem is that you have to always account for the other person when you're making attacks. So if someone attacks you, or if you attack someone, and you do not account for the fact that they can immediately attack you back, then you've made a poor attack. So all of our attacks have to have this basic understanding. So before we get into the basic attacks that we use here in this school, we have to explain the attack theory. So if I get Josh in here, so if Josh and I are in here, sword to sword, so we have good ma'ai, so when we're setting the ma'ai here, an important thing to understand is that if I don't take a step, I can't reach Josh. And that step's really important to Josh, just like in regular Aikido theory. That step gives him enough reaction time to deal with whatever I'm bringing. So good ma'ai is just the tips of our swords touching, and if I don't take a step, I can't quite hit this guy. So we're good ma'ai here. If Josh were to come in and make an attack on an angle, like this, and I'm immediately able to hit Josh back, that attack was a poor attack. And the reason is because my arms will move so fast at this range that it's very unlikely that he'll be able to get his sword down and defend before I can attack him. So he's exposed himself here in this. So what Josh wants to do, when he lands his attack, is he wants to attack in a way at that angle that if I were to immediately counter, I cannot get to him. Right? So right now I'm sweeping right through, and the reason is because at this high position, Josh has a better line than I have. So meaning he can make full contact with me here while I can't make contact with him. And the reason is simply because as my lever goes lower and lower and lower, it becomes shorter because of the arc of my arm. So that means, see how far I am from his ankle? I'm very far from his ankle. I couldn't make an ankle attack. I can't make a knee attack. I can't make a body attack. Now where I could start to make an attack is on the same line Josh is on. However, Josh's sword is right there protecting him. So if I were to try to hit Josh's head back, bang, he would be defended against that. Now it's important to understand, I did get hit, right? So if Josh's only desire was to hit me and kill me or hurt me or whatever, then that's fine, he's made a successful attack. However, if Josh wants to preserve himself at all, he would have made an unsuccessful attack if when he hit, I was still able to get him. So Josh needs to learn this distance. So one thing we can do is, I'll hold the sword out for Josh and he can see every time, yep, I could hit him, but he cannot counter hit me back. So that's one part of this being able to make a successful attack. Another part is you always want your sword to be in position to create some kind of opposing force to their sword. So if that same thing were to happen here, so we're at nice ma'ai and Josh comes in and makes the attack at a good distance. Now I cannot attack his body. However, I could move my body or take a step in. So now understand that step, so me being able to take a step in to get Josh, gives him some reaction time. Where Josh has placed his sword means that when I do that, he can cut through and protect himself with his sword. So after he's doing this, his secondary action is his arms moving down. Now his arms move faster than either my body or my feet. So that means if I made a body adjustment, he would be able to pull his arm down in time to account for that. Also, if I made a foot action, he'd be able to bring his arms down in time to account for that. This is the basic idea of being able to oppose my sword, called opposition. So he can oppose my sword by doing this. If Josh were to land an attack, come back here for me. If Josh were to make an attack on this side of my body, but when he did it, he were to step forward with his right foot, he would not have this natural line. So A, this cut's a little awkward for him, but more importantly is his sword won't as naturally move down to protect his body here. So when I attack Josh, because his feet are crossed, he has a harder and harder time pulling the sword down to defend himself. Because he can barely make it, but this is not a good position for him to be in. However, when he makes that attack, he steps forward with his other foot. Now as I go to attack his body, he can easily bring his hands down and able to protect himself. So this gives him a nice alignment to create that. So when he steps in, if he goes to this side of the body, stay right there for me. If he goes to this side of the body, he wants to have the other foot forward. So this way his sword naturally moves down to protect himself. He always wants the open side of his body towards my next attacking position. So my next attacking position is here, so that means he wants the open side of his body there. Just bring the sword by your side for a second. So you can see here's the open side of his body. Here's where he's built to operate. If Josh were to step in with the other foot when he makes that attack, you can go ahead so they can see it. So now the closed side of his body is where my attack's going to be in next. Now it's not impossible for him to protect himself, it's just not very efficient. So if he brings his hands down, he might be able to get that, but it's not going to be nearly as easy for him if his feet were switched, and now he can naturally come down and defend himself. So understanding this, when we're making a successful attack, we always have to account for the next action of the person who we're dealing with, right? So you want to do that ideally by perfect distancing. So that would be the great thing to do, is make an attack on a line that they cannot immediately counterattack. However, if you can't do that, you always want to create a position where your sword can immediately cover you after this action's done. So this is how to make a proper attack in Aikido. After this, we're going to talk about the 5 basic ways we make proper attacks here in this school. I'm Christopher Hine. Thanks a lot.